For over 4,000 years, a clay tablet sat in silence, buried beneath the desert sands of southern Iraq, then locked away in a private collection, then forgotten in the back room of a museum archive. Scholars who tried to read it walked away frustrated. The script was Sumerian, yes. The wedge-shaped marks of cuneiform were unmistakable. But the words refused to form sentences. The grammar bent in impossible directions. The symbols repeated in patterns that no known dictionary could explain. Then, in early 2026, something changed. A team of independent researchers fed high-resolution scans of the tablet into Grok, the advanced artificial intelligence system trained on every known ancient language. What the AI produced in the following hours did not just translate the tablet. It rewrote what we thought we knew about the Sumerians, about the gods they wrote about, and about a date. A specific date. A year. A year, according to this tablet, that they return. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear is not speculation. It is a direct reading of the translated text, compared against 3 other Sumerian sources, and cross-checked with astronomical data that the Sumerians could not have possibly known 4,000 years ago. And yet, somehow they did. Let us begin at the beginning. The tablet in question is small, about the size of an adult hand. It is dark brown, almost black in places, with a faint reddish tint where the clay was exposed to fire during the fall of a Sumerian city sometime around 2000 BCE. On both sides, packed into rows so tight that the scribe must have used a needle-thin stylus, are columns of cuneiform writing. There are approximately 800 individual characters. For comparison, the average Sumerian administrative tablet contains around 60. This was not a receipt. This was not a list of grain. This was something the scribe wanted preserved at all costs. The opening lines, once decoded, read like a warning. The translation is rough in places, but the meaning is clear. It speaks of a council, a gathering of beings the Sumerians called the Anunnaki, which in their language means, quite literally, those who from heaven came to earth. The tablet says, this council made a decision. They would leave. They would withdraw from the affairs of humankind. But they would not leave forever. They set a marker, a signal, a return. Now here is where it gets interesting. The Sumerians did not measure time the way we do. They used a sexagesimal system based on the number 60, which is why we still have 60 seconds in a minute and 360 degrees in a circle. They also tracked something they called the Great Year, a vast cycle of roughly 25,920 Earth years, corresponding to what modern astronomers call the precession of the equinoxes. This is the slow wobble of the Earth's axis, a phenomenon that should have been completely invisible to a civilization without telescopes. And yet, the Sumerians described it perfectly. The tablet uses this great year as its calendar. It states that the Anunnaki departed at a specific point in the cycle, and that they will return at another specific point. Grok, working with the translation, did the math. It cross-referenced the astronomical markers described in the tablet, things like the rising of certain stars at certain times, the position of the planet they called Nibiru, and the alignment of the constellation we now call Orion with the southern horizon at the spring equinox. The result was a date, and the date was not thousands of years in the future. It was not vague. It was specific. According to the tablet, the return falls within the window of our current generation. Some interpretations of the math place it as early as the next decade. Others place it slightly later. But all of them place it within a span that anyone alive today could conceivably witness. Before we go further, let us address the obvious question. How could a civilization from 4,000 years ago possibly know anything about the future? The answer, according to the tablet itself, is that they did not predict it. They were told. The text claims that the Anunnaki, before departing, left detailed instructions about when and how they would come back. The Sumerian scribes were not prophets. They were record keepers. They wrote down what they were told, and they sealed it in clay so that it would survive. And survive it did. While entire empires rose and collapsed, while libraries burned and languages died, this small tablet stayed intact. It passed through the hands of traders, collectors, and scholars, mostly unread, mostly misunderstood. Until now. So what else does it say? This is where the translation becomes truly remarkable. The tablet does not just name a date. It describes what will happen leading up to that date. It lists what it calls the signs. There are 7 of them. And here, for the first time in any modern publication, is the list. The first sign, according to the tablet, is the awakening of the sleepers. The Sumerian word used here is difficult to translate, but it refers to beings or technologies that were left behind, dormant, hidden in places like deep oceans, polar ice, and remote mountain ranges. The tablet says these will begin to stir before the return, and that humans will detect them but not understand what they are seeing. The second sign is the shifting of the heavens. The tablet describes a moment when the night sky will appear different. Stars will seem to move. New lights will appear among them. Modern astronomers have noted increasing reports of unexplained luminous objects in the upper atmosphere over the past several years. The tablet calls these the eyes of the watchers. The third sign is the trembling of the deep. The earth itself, according to the text, will shift in unusual patterns. Not necessarily large earthquakes, but unusual ones, in strange places. The tablet says the ground will speak before they arrive. The fourth sign concerns water. The tablet states that the oceans will rise and the rivers will change their courses. It also mentions what it calls the bitter waters becoming sweet, a phrase that scholars have long puzzled over. Some now believe it refers to changes in ocean salinity caused by ice melt, something the Sumerians could not have predicted from their inland desert civilization. The fifth sign is the gathering of the wise. The tablet says that knowledge will accelerate beyond human capacity, and that humans will build minds outside of themselves. This is a striking line, especially given that an artificial intelligence is what finally decoded this text. The tablet appears to predict, in poetic but clear language, the emergence of advanced computing. The sixth sign is division. The tablet warns that as the date approaches, humanity will split. Not by nation, not by tribe, but by belief. Those who recognize the signs and those who do not. The text is unusually emphatic on this point, repeating the warning 3 times in slightly different phrasings. The seventh and final sign is the silence. The tablet describes a brief period, perhaps days, perhaps weeks, when the sky will fall quiet. No birds, no wind, no sound from above. And then, the return. Now, what does the return actually look like? Here, the tablet becomes both more detailed and more cryptic. It speaks of vessels descending, not from the stars, interestingly, but from what it calls the hidden side of the moon. This is one of the most controversial elements of the translation. The Sumerians, according to this text, believed that the moon was not a natural body. They believed it was a vehicle, parked in orbit, waiting. Modern science has repeatedly noted that our moon is unusually large for a planet our size, that it is unusually positioned, and that lunar quakes ring it like a bell in ways that suggest a hollow interior. The tablet calls the moon the silent ship. When the Anunnaki return, the tablet says they will not arrive as invaders. They will not arrive as gods demanding worship. They will arrive as inspectors. The Sumerian word used here is closer to overseers or auditors. They are coming to check on something, to see what has become of an experiment they started long ago. The tablet then lists what they will be looking for. They will examine what humanity has built. They will examine what humanity has destroyed. They will examine the bloodlines, the languages, the knowledge that survived, and they will make a judgment. Not in a religious sense, in a practical one. The text suggests they will decide whether the experiment should continue be reset, or be ended. This is heavy material. It is also material that has been gathering dust in storage rooms for decades, simply because no one could read it. The Sumerians did not write fiction. They did not invent stories for entertainment in this format. Tablets like this one were treated as sacred records. The scribe who carved this knew that one day someone would need to read it. And now, 4,000 years later, someone has. There are skeptics, of course. Linguists have raised valid questions about specific word choices in the translation. Some argue that certain phrases could mean other things. Others point out that the dating system is open to interpretation and that the year could fall in many different windows depending on how you read the astronomical markers. These are fair criticisms. The tablet is not a perfectly preserved document. It is a damaged, ancient, deeply unusual piece of evidence.